Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2024. It's a little bit yucky outside, but it is a beautiful day in here, and I am so glad to see each and every one of y'all today. If you would, please help me welcome past President Jim Whitten, Director and Shareholder of Brackett & Ellis, PC, for our invocation, followed immediately after by Wesley Gentle, Director and President, Arts Fort Worth, playing our national anthem. Please rise with me.
Please pray with me. Gracious God, great are you and greatly to be praised. Thank you for this day and this opportunity to share food and fellowship. We ask your blessings on all who made this possible, and we ask you to forgive our many failings. Lord, we ask your blessings to be upon the homeless women and children who our society often overlooks and sometimes ignores. We also lift up the dedicated workers for the Center for Transforming Lives who daily put service to the least of these above themselves. May your peace be upon them. For these people and their work, we give you thanks. Amen.
Amen. Jim. Thank y'all very much. Thank you, Wesley, Jim. All right, so welcome our guests is Howard Altschuler, partner at Weaver. Howard? There he is. Come on up here.
Thank you. All right, so we have 4 guests today. Either applaud as you wish or hold your applause up to you. First, we have Tara Lee Harrison, who is a guest of Jim Austin. Second, we have Susie Bickley, guest of Mike Bickley. Third, we have Stephen Lawrence, guest of Ricky McBride. And last but not least, we have Jennifer O'Keefe, a guest of Midori Clark. And that, my friends, makes 6.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. All right, today's meeting is sponsored by K&L Enterprises, courtesy of past President Larry Anfin and his lovely wife, our Sergeant-at-Arms, Karen Anfin. Now, I know they don't like us giving them a lot of public acclaim, but over the past 4.5 years, K&L is either ranked first or tied for first place in the total number of meeting sponsorships extended to our club. We'd like to thank Larry and Karen once more for their generosity and outstanding service to the Fort Worth Rotary Club. Rotary Club of Fort Worth, how about that? All right, so we're gonna do something a little bit today. We're gonna recognize all the club sponsors who have donated to Rotary International during my Rotary year. Because of these donations, we have clean water around the world, life-saving immunizations against diseases, literacy programs for both children and adults are happening, agricultural classes are being conducted, entrepreneurship classes are being offered. Students are being trained to be peacemakers. And of course, we are literally this close to eradicating polio worldwide. If you're in attendance today, please stand when your name is called. Ladies and gentlemen, the following Rotarians have achieved their first Paul Harris Fellow. Howard Alschuler, John Barnett, Dr. John, Rosa Maria Verdeja, Pamela Cannell, Greg Carter, Brendan Harrington, Chris Jordan. Stay standing, please. Stay standing. When you're called, stay standing. Christina Judge, Tom Law Jr., Kelly Lauder, Ed McLinn, Laura McWhorter, Brad Nolan, and Jan Titsworth. Let's give them a round of applause, folks. The following, stay up there, stay standing, please. Okay. The following have moved to the next Paul Harris Fellow Award, Level 1, James Britton, Tran Trong, and myself, Kirk Driver. Level 2, Past President Fernando Costa, Secretary Matty Compton, Frank Tilley. Level 4, Karen Anfin. Wait a minute. Did I miss one? Level 2, Past President Fernando Costa, Don Click. Did Don Click get called? Where's Don? Don Click, okay. Level 3, Matty Compton, Frank Tilley. Level 4, Karen Anfin and Dr. Judith Carrier. Level 5, Dr. Joe Michaels. President-elect Kathy Sheffield. Kathy, stand up. Level 6, Ted Paup. And level 8, Past President Larry Anfin. Thank you, all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, for the 23-24 Rotary year, these are your Rotary International Paul Harris Fellow donors. Remember, our club is still matching points through March 31st, and we will have more of these recognitions before the Rotary year is up. For the details, please scan the QR code on the slide. I'd like to thank Ryan Jodich, our Rotary International Foundation Chair, who could not be with us today, and I'd like to thank his committee for their dedication and hard work. So thank you all very much. Now for the four-way test. For all of our visitors, all 6 of you, the Rotary four-way test is something that we Rotarians strive to use in our everyday lives as a filter for everything we think, say, or do. If it doesn't meet the test, well, we just don't think, say, or do those things, ideally. All right, so number 1, with me, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Now, setting that aside for a minute, Mr. John Laudenschlager, broker and realtor, Black Tie Real Estate, with our newscast. John?
I'm honored because you know you've kind of made it at least to a certain level when you get the slow clap at Rotary. So thank you, and be gentle. I feel about as welcome here as a New York prosecutor down at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, the only thing frostier than that reception might be Trump's assets if he doesn't make bail. I couldn't leave that one alone, I'm sorry. Tell you what, Boeing just can't catch a break these days. They've had door plugs, wheels, panels flying off mid-flight. In fact, according to a new report, Boeing has failed more than a third of the FAA's audits on its production process for the 737 MAX. So unlike their planes, they're screwed. According to a new survey, 95% of US teens have access to a smartphone. All right. What do the other 5% say? Mom. There's a good one from Colorado. A book on psychedelics was returned to a Colorado library after taking a long, strange trip for about 37 years. The book, due back May 30th, 1987, was accompanied by a note reading, "Sorry it's so late. It's been a long, strange trip." Far be it from us to suggest that a book on psychedelics may have affected someone's perception of time, the library joked on social media. All right. And in politics, a congressional candidate in Ohio conceded his race via email. There's only one problem. I mean, it's pretty normal to concede, but there was a problem. It was about 3 in the afternoon, and the polls didn't close until 7. They quickly took it back and said, please disregard that email. He did go on to lose, and later just kept digging the hole deeper when he described it as an impotent night. Impotent being the key word there. Oh, whoopsie. So do any of you guys agree that our national politics have kind of gotten out of control? I mean, the tribalism is even extending beyond the cross-party conflict. Now it's within the parties. Last week, fewer than 100 Republicans, House Republicans, were expected to attend their House retreat. When asked about it, one source said, and I quote, "I'd rather sit down with Hannibal Lecter and eat my own liver." This is true. He argued that moving their conference discussions from the Capitol to a resort with alcohol could exacerbate infighting between members. Pretty good. Another member stated, yeah, I had already bought the supplies to clean my boat. This is real, folks. That's not made up. That's real. So, one thing the members of the House in both parties do seem to agree on is TikTok. They recently passed a measure to ban TikTok or force it to be sold from its parent company in China. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi explained that, I hope some of you guys saw this video, but it's not an attempt to ban TikTok, it's an attempt to make TikTok better. And went on to draw a game of tic-tac-toe, striking a line in the air stating, "Tic-tac-toe, a winner." And she immediately lost the support of every American under 45 just for being weird. Seriously though, I'm not a TikToker, so I don't really get it. But it seems to me that if the newspaper was like the evolution of the printing of the town crier, then TikTok is more like the evolution of the town drunk. All right, in spite of all the major disagreements the American public has from everything from sports to politics and everything in between, seems there is one thing that carries on regardless in our fascination with the royal family. We just can't seem to get enough of the fascination with Princess Kate and the doctored pictures of her kids and fueling speculation about her disappearing and other royal conspiracy theories that we just can't let go. Isn't it great that with all the effed up stuff going on in the world and all the false outrage, at least we can keep our priorities straight with our legitimate outrage about Kate's photoshopping scandal? I mean, seriously, folks, didn't we fight a little war a while back so we could stop caring about the royal family? Credit JR, credit JR. And more outrage, this week Justin Wood and his service duck Wrinkle were banned from Buc-ee's stores for life after being kicked out by employees who had called the cops. I mean, doesn't this seem a little rich coming from the business with a buck-toothed beaver as their animal of choice? So if they brought in a beaver, would it have made any difference? And finally, spring has sprung, so has the pollen. We do have some weather clearing this weekend. Get out, enjoy the high 60s, take your allergy pills if you need them, and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, sir. Great job. I know I couldn't do that job, but all of my red badgers in the room, we do have openings for newscasters. All right, time for some announcements. Mr. Ryan Barrera, Chief Advancement Officer at Campfire, First Texas, come on up here, sir. And Kua, you're on deck.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just talk. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of the Community Outreach Committee And we're trying to recruit some new members to join our committee from each of you. So it's a committee that I was privileged to lead in transition from Richard Knight. Richard, thanks for everything you did to set us up well. And we've had a lot of great conversations recently, and as I've promoted recently, we participated in the Cowtown 5K, an annual effort that we've been doing. But for those wondering about what the Community Outreach Committee does, some of the efforts that we've done recently are, or in recent years, are the Trinity River Trash Bash, serving consistently at Union Gospel Mission, packing and distribution of food through Tarrant Area Food Bank, the Back to School Roundup, and a favorite of mine and Mr. Greg Carter, the We Care event through his employer, WRG, benefiting the Boys and Girls Club and the kiddos that they serve. So those are some of the efforts that we're looking at for the year ahead to plan and just serve well in the community and be seen and be engaged. So I'm here to plug a happy hour. So if you'd like to learn about what we do, just sit in on one of our meetings and see if it's a fit for you. We're hosting this happy hour on Tuesday, April 2nd at Greg's office on Vickery, so very close to here. It's from 5 to 6:30, and just encourage you to RSVP with me. No commitment on your end, just come in and see what we're about. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Next up, Akua Anful, CEO, founder, EA Wealth Management, LLC, with an announcement from our International Committee, right?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for participating in the International Committee initiative, especially for the refugee services and food and hygiene kits. With your help, we're actually able to raise close to $1,700. We're just $10 short. But if you recall, I did mention that we'll have an MVP award. So we actually have an MVP of refugee services. And on that note, drum roll, please. And can you chant MVP? Our MVP of refugee services goes to Kelly Lauder. Well, we appreciate your contribution, but this is like the Stanley Cup. We'll pass this around every year, so we want it back.
Thank you, Akua, and congratulations, Kellen. All right. Secretary Maddie Compton, retired federal prosecutor, has some first and second readings. Come on up, ma'am.
Good afternoon. We have one first reading today. The proposed member is Susan Little. Her title is Senior Corporate Relations Manager. Her company is the American Cancer Society, classification not-for-profit, and the proposer is Kathy Neese Brown. If no written objections are received in the Rotary office by April the 5th, this proposal will be given a second reading and voted on by the club. We have 2 second readings today. The proposed members are Chris Harris, VP of Defense for Speed 3D company. Classification is manufacturing defense. The proposer is Corey Harris. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
I have a motion. Who's second? Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Harris is elected. Congratulations and welcome.
The next second reading is Robert Wright, Director of CCMR. His company is Fort Worth ISD, and classification is education. His proposer is Don Click. Robert is a transfer from the Keller Golden Triangle Rotary. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. She is hereby elected. Welcome to our club, Mr. White. Thank you, Madam Secretary. All right, it's the main event. I'd like to introduce our chairperson of the day, past president J.R. Labby, partner, no, this is not the newscast, not the newscast, partner, Chief Comms Officer, CSE Leadership, LLC. Come on up, Madam Past President.
Thank you, President Kirk. I met Carol Klosek in 2007 when I was an editorial writer and columnist at the Star-Telegram, and she was in transition from the Director of Program Services at the Salvation Army to the Executive Director of the Presbyterian Night Shelter. Our first really lengthy conversations took place on buses and airplanes during what we lovingly became known as Mike Moncrief's 3-day death march to LA, Denver, and Seattle. A group of more than 20 Fort Worth business, political, and community leaders bonded through learning how other cities were responding to the issues of homelessness. In 2009, Carol took the helm of the YWCA of Fort Worth and Tarrant County. She quickly realized the answer to moving mothers from poverty to prosperity has to be a 2-generation approach that includes housing services, early childhood education, counseling, and economic mobility. The YWCA became the Center for Transforming Lives. This is where I have to make a confession. I wrote the Star-Telegram editorial that questioned the wisdom of that moniker. Could be a yoga studio, could be a surgical center, could be a hair salon. Nothing like a good haircut to transform your lives. What it is today, the Center for Transforming Lives is a remarkable collection of people led by its president and CEO, Carol Klosek, who are transforming a long vacant neighborhood landmark from a lifeless eyesore to 14-acre jewel that will brim with opportunity for mothers and their children. It is my honor to serve with Rotarians Mike Bickley, Shanna Saldana, Karen Anfin, Jim Witten, Rachel Capua, and Charlie Powell to be a small part of changing the proverbial and literal landscape of the new Riverside campus in Southeast Fort Worth. Here to tell you more is my friend, Carol Klosek.
Thank you, JR. Did you know that for a man, the leading indicator of living in poverty is lack of education? But for a woman, it's having a child. The cost to all of us of that reality is generations of children who never reach their potential. Thanks so much for having me back today. I'm going to share a little bit more about my background. I'm a Fort Worth girl, 5th generation on both sides of my family. I have master's degrees in social work and in business, but that's not why I do what I do. As the oldest girl out of 8 children, and a household with an angry father and a mother with severe depression, parenting responsibilities usually fell to me during my high school years. Thankfully, I also worked for my neighbor next door, so after I would put my brothers and sisters to bed at night, I went to her house and while she worked overnight as a nurse at Harris downtown. I told Meg about how difficult life was at home, lack of food, lack of opportunity, a lot of anger and difficulty, and she explained about college, that even someone like me could go to school, and she was the one who coached me to get there. Because of Meg, I believe that no matter how hard life gets, there is always a path forward. Because of those experiences that I had with my brothers and sisters when I was young, I have a strong passion for families that are trapped in the cycle of poverty and trauma. And the families in our community and across our country that are most likely to be in that trap are ones with single mothers with young children. To state the obvious, for a family to be financially secure, they have to earn money. But for a single mom with a little one to have a job, she's got to have childcare. Did you know that in Texas, tuition for childcare costs the same, if not more, than going to college? There are subsidies, but for every one child that does get a seat, there are 4 families that are eligible. So what most moms do is turn to friends, family, neighbors, and hope that their child will be safe. In Tarrant County today, 32% of all single moms with a child under the age of 5 are living in poverty. That is resulting in a tremendous amount of homelessness for children who are, for young children with a single mom. This is also resulting in a lot of children with developmental delays, medical issues, and other challenges that really interfere with their preparation for school. I also forgot to mention that our eviction rates are tremendously high, and which is worsening the challenges for these families. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about early childhood brain development. You might be aware that 90% of brain development happens by the age of 5. You can see on the screen just the neural pathways that are developing. That's just an enormous amount of activity. More than 1 million new neurons are formed every second during those first 3 years. Very young children are naturally trying to engage with their environments, and the response that they get from parents, the other parts of their environment, form the architecture of their brains. Children who are living in poverty, who experience eviction, experience homelessness, also are prone to other experiences of trauma. Across the board, 15% of children in Tarrant County are experiencing 2 or more adverse childhood experiences. And those ACEs might include abuse, neglect, family dysfunction such as mental illness of a primary caregiver, abandonment, death of a parent. It's not unusual for children in our care to have between 6 and 8 ACEs by the time they are 6 years old. The maximum score is 10. So these are kids who've been through a tremendous amount already. Children who spend their early years in very low resource center settings, a shelter, a neighbor with a big TV, they're not receiving the positive attention that promotes positive brain development. These kids hear 4 million fewer words by the time they reach school age than their middle income peers. These kids spend so much time in bouncy seats, in umbrella strollers, what we in the business call child containers, that they don't learn to sit up on time. They don't crawl or walk when they should. The trauma then also, so there's less development of the brain for those normal kinds of activities, and then trauma artificially enlarges other parts of the brain. The part of the brain that handles fight, flight, or freeze, the amygdala, absolutely grows in size, can double in size, whereas the prefrontal cortex shrinks because that's not what's needed for survival. The amygdala expands for survival. These kids have learned that the world is a very scary place, and all of these changes in the brain really help the child to survive, but they don't help the child succeed in school. Just a couple of other things that children with these that you can see here, they have reduced volume in their hippocampus, which is central to learning and memory. That smaller prefrontal cortex, which is critical to behavior, cognition, and emotional regulation. So again, does not develop as it should. The brain has a remarkable capacity for change. The older the children are, though, before the intervention, the greater amount of effort that change requires. What we have learned in recent years, because of the advances in brain imaging capacity, we have learned, unfortunately, that the changes to the brain are permanent. The brain's plasticity can allow it to adapt, and particularly children who are exposed to can be a parent, can be someone outside the home who really forms a relationship, creates safety that can mitigate some of the behaviors and allows for greater adaptation to the trauma and the lack of stimulation. But unfortunately, it takes, even in that kind of best case scenario, it takes so much time and effort to overcome. So that is why it is imperative that we work with both the mother and the child at the same time to give the child the greatest chance for the success in their early part of their lives, and we engage everyone we can in making that happen. So our two-generation approach works alongside women with children as they move from poverty to prosperity. We engage with families of many forms, so we focus most on mothers with young children, but we do have single dads. We have grandfathers raising grandchildren, we've got older siblings raising younger children, but it's always a two-generation approach. We provide essential services that stabilize families and an array of educational services that help them thrive. Just a few examples. Our services for homeless families combine rent assistance with comprehensive case management, and that's directed toward both the mother and the child. Last year, we worked with 231 families, moving them off the streets, out of their cars, out of shelters, into their own homes. 98% remained stably housed after we worked with them, and 73% of them improved 2 or more domains in that financial well-being. So we're very excited about those results. We also educated 610 children through our early childhood programming. So that includes everything from home-based services to traditional childcare, early Head Start and Head Start. And 94% of the children who are enrolled with us for 6 months or more were ready for school. So you can compare that with only 66% of entering kindergartners that are going into Fort Worth ISD. So I love the fact that kids, even if they're coming from shelters and low-income families, are even more ready than your average child coming into the school district. We've got lots of evaluation efforts to make sure that our programs are effective. Okay, just pull all of these up for you. So over the last 5 years, we've worked with about 6,000 families and provided them with that stability and the tools to achieve self-sufficiency. 568 families recovered from homelessness. For every family that moves out of homelessness, our community saves approximately $20,000 per year. That really adds up over time. So then in 2025, it's more than $4 million that we're saving the community through our work. So I've given you lots of statistics and data and brain images, but I think also incredibly powerful are the words of the women who have gone through our services. I talk to women all the time who say, CTL literally saved my life, saved the life of my children and I. We wouldn't be here today without Center for Transforming Lives. But let me also ask you to watch this very brief video where you can see more women whose lives have been changed.
I came on bad times. My child's father wasn't trying to help me out with living arrangements. My family, they didn't really want to help me either. Everything just seemed so unclear. I didn't have anybody but my daughter just looking at me. There was some domestic violence with my husband, and so I just thought it was best to just start fresh. It was very difficult. We were homeless, living out of our car.
We had a house fire. As I'm taking care of my grandma, we lost nearly everything in the house. I had nothing, $500 in my pocket, a car, and my baby.
The struggles of being a single mom with clothes and food on the table, it's hard. Childcare is stupid expensive. It's hard to come by. I could not afford childcare, and if I can't afford childcare, then I can't work. Can't pay my bills. As a new mother, it was just so uncomfortable to even just leave my baby with anybody for a little while.
I found out about this place and I turned in the application to CTL, and the next day I got a phone call.
The Center for Transforming Lives definitely transformed my life. We are, on the right track now. We're headed up, no more looking back. We're stronger now, and I'm focused.
I could tell this was the beginning of something great. You have counseling to help with what you're going through, and they have economic mobility that helps you with your money, helps you save your money.
They helped me find a job. They care for my daughter. They helped out so much and it really changed who I am today. I wanted my kids to be in a school setting. It's not like daycare. I'm not dropping them off to play. I'm actually dropping them off to learn. My daughter is super smart. She knows colors, numbers, Spanish, sign language, you name it. My 5-year-old wouldn't talk for a long time. He just would not talk. But put him in school and here he is talking up a storm. I don't have to worry about who's gonna watch them, and I can do what I need to do to help us advance in life while they're still learning. I received a scholarship. I did want to become a lawyer eventually. My long-term goal is to be a nurse. They provided me with the tuition that I needed, and that left me speechless. I want to make sure I continue to work and provide and do what I need to do for my children.
And because of this program, I have everything that I need to be successful in my life.
I don't get tired of watching that video. It's just really wonderful. And you can tell, even these women have gone through such difficult situations, but they're trying as hard as they can to be the best moms that they can be. And it's a joy to help them get there. It is also has been a real challenge for us. We've grown from being a $3 million operation to now we're north of 20. We've got 180 employees in 11 locations throughout Tarrant County. And we have greatly outgrown our beautiful, wonderful building that is in downtown Fort Worth. So we are expanding our impact, and it's a good time for us to be expanding as well. After the pandemic, we have had so much recovery, but women with children in that 5 and under range have actually been the only group that have increased the rate of poverty instead of decreased. So it is a really important time for us to be growing. So we have purchased 14 acres at the intersection of Riverside and Berry in southeast Fort Worth. We broke ground. We're rehabbing an existing Montgomery ward. So those of you who've been around a long time, I love talking to family members who remember shopping at that Montgomery ward. But it's been a long time since anything has happened at that corner, and it's been vacant since the mid-90s. The facility is ideally situated in 76119. It's a working class community, but I also like to tell people that I kind of think of it as the intersection of need and opportunity. 71% of single moms with a child under the age of 5 are living in poverty in that zip code. Yeah. 3/4 of them. But there's also great development happening. Lennar Homes has put in 2 brand-new neighborhoods. There's a beautiful apartment complex going in up the street. So much good is happening. And so what we have the opportunity to do is to be a catalyst for change and just increase the rate and accelerate the growth in that area. I also think of it as a place where we're taking this kind of concrete block that has been an eyesore and has been a symbol of neglect in the community for a long time, and we're turning that into a place that says to low-income mothers and to the community, we see you, we care for you, and we believe in you. It also, I have heard over and over again as I speak to community members, they really truly feel that this is a long time coming investment in that community. It is also, well, let me just say, it's what we're doing there is unique in North Texas. Throughout my career, I have heard the assumption, I even held the assumption early on, that there were more services available for women with young children than any other group. And what I have realized is that is simply not the case. It is especially not the case in the world of homeless services. But those early years are a time when so many families just drop off the grid because of their high rates of mobility, because of the way the services are delivered. They just can't get to where they need to be until children are school age. So we have designed an array of services in a building that removes those barriers and delivers the services to them. So we will have a flagship child development center. So we have space for 72 right now in our downtown location. We'll have 120, the new one. We will be able to offer our homeless services. It'll have touchdown spaces for intake. It will not offer shelter services at that location. We will have an expanded clinical counseling wing. Right now, I've got 2 rooms, but we have 80 people who are participating in clinical counseling services. And then it will have an economic mobility center. So right now we offer our economic mobility services in an office space in Arlington, but this will offer those services in addition to incubator space, accelerators. It'll have a commercial kitchen, an audio studio, a video studio, and so much more that will be available to the entire community. All of that will be supported with free drop-in childcare. Yeah. So if I'm a mom and I have a job interview, I can do my job interview at that location and just bring my 2-year-old. If I have an empanada business that I want to start, I can bring my 3-year-old and my 4-year-old, do what I need to do in the commercial kitchen, and just collect them when I'm ready to leave. It removes those barriers. We'll be able to do job fairs there, childcare fairs, and we're also going to include 2 mobile health rooms, so we can partner with groups like Cook Children's and Texas Health Resources and JPS and others to provide a number of preventive healthcare services. So we're talking with other partners as well. It's an ideal space to remove the barrier for especially this population. Another really important aspect of it is that, women and children, as you can imagine, have the kind of folks that come into our doors, they have needed to be on their guard all the time. I talked with a mom last month, and she and her 2 boys had been living in their car since September. Can you imagine how scary that is and how you would feel physically going through that all the time? So our space is trauma informed. So the architects, Bennett Partners, did an amazing job integrating the central components of trauma-informed design. It's lots of natural light. There's a lot of attention paid to sound in the building and how it carries. There are nested layers and permeability in the walls. And it is also a space that is filled with beauty. In social services, I get this all the time, that, you've got second, third-hand furniture, you've got, repairs that don't get made to buildings, and oftentimes that sends a message. So we are intentionally sending an opposite message of dignity and value by putting in a meditation garden and then using the trauma-informed design elements. And also, interestingly enough, and I love this aspect of it, research shows that providing services in this kind of environment accelerates the healing. So, I love that you're nodding. Yes. Okay, so this is a huge, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a $65,000, or not 65,000 square foot that we're renovating, and almost a $40 million project. So we're putting this together through public dollars that we have secured. We're selling our building downtown, and then we are raising private dollars. We have amazing foundations in town and very wealthy and generous individuals who have really let us know that they believe in this project. So Eamon Carter has been a wonderful supporter, Sid Richardson Foundation, Rainwater, others, and so we are almost there. So our goal is, we're just $900,000 short of meeting our private philanthropy goal for this phase. I will say that I am very interested in putting in a second resale shop location on that property. The ladies at the churches nearby have told us that we need to open our coffee shop as soon as possible. So, because there's just so little available in that area. And then we also have plans for a vocational training center that will provide a very similar concept of partnering with those that can provide the training, and we have the facility and we offer the free drop-in childcare. We want women to have the access to living wage jobs. So lots of success, and we are moving forward to finish the campaign. We have a couple of minutes for me to show you just a quick fly through of the, okay. So that's the site as it looked before we started the construction in October. So you can see the old asphalt, the foundations for buildings that had been there in the past. It just looks like an old warehouse, which is what most people thought it was. And as you'll be able to see in just a second, as we go inside, Bennett Partners has done a remarkable job in transforming and imagining a very different space. So inside, The second floor was largely removed, and we had these enormous columns, and now that's the transformation. So it's a meditation garden. You're looking at our learning stair, and then behind that, the Economic Mobility Center, which, yes, it does look like a tech environment, and that's intentional. A maker space there specifically to support small businesses, a display kitchen for content creation, and that's adjacent to the commercial kitchen. Tucked back in the corner, there's the drop-in childcare center. You can see the blues and greens, and yes, those are our corporate colors, but they are the trauma-informed palette. A lot of attention has also been paid to the landscaping, again, to really soften the environment and create beauty. Also, a lot of attention has been paid to security as well. So about 70% of the families that come through our homeless programs have also experienced intimate partner violence. So we pay a lot of attention to security. That's the indoor playground, ingenious wrapping of the column there. And then going back, you'll see the little houses, those are classrooms. And then reading, of course, is super important. So we have 2 wonderful little reading nooks where the children will be able to go pick up books and read. And then going out, you can see the use of the natural light and how it comes into the building. And this is the playground. This is an area where we spent more to make it a very natural playground environment. And this is really good for children who have had the kind of early years because it promotes creativity, use of the imagination, and just that contact with the natural elements is very calming to children's nervous systems. And then the meditation garden, which will allow the light to come in, but also serve as a quiet space for both participants and staff members to be. Studio Outside did the design work for the playground and the meditation gardens, as well as the rest of the grounds. Yes, quite a transformation of that building, as well as for the women and children that we are engaged in our services. So right now, we're serving about 1,000 families each year. We expect to double that in the new campus. And then what we are also hoping is that will just help us to continue to grow, to meet the need and in the way that our community needs. I get so excited about the work that we do, and when women come back to get involved with us. We had a woman who went through our homeless services program about 8 years ago, who recently came back because she is in our Level Up business program, and she has developed a online resale, and so she's benefited from a small business grant, and has this growing community or growing business for the community. So that's what we've been up to, and I'm really excited about what this means for Fort Worth. And there's my contact information, and if you'd like to follow up for anything. And I think I've got time for maybe a couple of questions.
Two quick questions. One, could you tell us a little bit more? I saw that you had launched 18 businesses. Could you tell us about those, maybe some success stories, challenges? And the second question, in your therapy, are you guys using like neurofeedback or anything like that?
Fantastic. So it was 18 businesses last year, and last year was a year with fewer. So we hope to launch 90 businesses this year. And they range from, they are almost all really low barrier to entry startups. One I think that is the most successful is a bakery in Arlington. A woman had been running out of her home, and we helped her with a $5,000 small business grant after she went through all the aspects of our programs. So she is, now she has a storefront, she has 5 employees, a thriving business. I'm so excited. But it's, so it can be as small as, someone who is setting up their own studio to do hair, to a math tutoring, landscaping, real estate, like it just really, videography, DJs. So some of them are side hustles, some of them they're looking for a full-time opportunity, and some have small amounts of employees. And then on the therapy, we aren't doing neurofeedback yet, but all of our therapists are trained in EMDR, as well as an array of other, and right now, about a quarter of the participants in those services are children, and then the rest are adults. Yes?
Are you planning on an additional shelter or any time of year?
We are not. Currently, we have shelter for 10 families in our downtown Fort Worth location, but the Salvation Army has expanded, Union Gospel has expanded, so we're going to focus on kind of our core competencies, which is getting families out of shelters and into successful lives in the community. So, thanks very much for having me.
Thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful program. So, as y'all know, I'm a police officer with the city of Fort Worth. That area where this is going in was one of my first beats, and I will tell you, this is huge. This is a transformation of that area, and it is right in the epicenter of where it is needed the most. So what a wonderful, wonderful program. Thank you so much. So we're the Rotary Club. One of our big things we do is, as I mentioned earlier, we're this close to eradicating completely polio, which is just a devastating disease. In honor of your speech here today, your presentation, we are making a donation to the Rotary Polio Plus Fund in your name. And this is a memento of that. So thank you so much. All right, some closing announcements for you. Today's meeting is sponsored by K&L Enterprises, courtesy of past President Larry Anfin and his lovely wife, our Sergeant at Arms, Karen Anfin. Over the past 4.5 years, K&L has either ranked first or tied for first place in the total number of meeting sponsorships extended to our club. We'd like to thank Larry and Karen once more for their generosity and outstanding service to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. We have a board of directors meeting today in the Rotary office, Suite 305, third floor. So as soon as we can wrap up, get down there, get started, the quicker we get done. Next week, do not come here. We do not have a meeting Friday, March 29th. Do not come next week. If you do, the 2 or 3 who do come, well, y'all are on your own for lunch. We will see all of you on Friday, April the 5th, though. Michael Toth, Tournament Director of the Schwab Colonial Golf Challenge, will be our guest speaker. And that's all the announcements, but I do have one request. Can we get all of everyone that I announced for the Paul Harris Awards, all of those who stood up, as soon as I ring this bell, coming up here, let's get a big group photo, and then let's get on out of here, okay? Everybody have a great weekend. This meeting is adjourned. Get up here. Yes, sir. I'm not